So, hey guys, I'm Emily. Welcome to Data Club. And so yeah, so our mission is just to promote data literacy in all disciplines. So before I jump into the presentation, I just wanted to go over a quick overview of what we're going to go over. So first, we're just going to highlight the leadership team, and then we're going to we're going to go over our speaker events, then Snowball, which is our project accelerator, and then involvement and how you could contact us. So there's four main facets of Data Club. The first is our Snowball Projects, which is once again our project accelerator, which I'll get into more later. That is our networking events, which just allow our members to kind of get to know each other, but also get to know professionals. And then there's our speaker events where we bring in companies to speak to us about how data is kind of just applied in whatever field that they're in. And then is technical workshops, which is some of them are student-led, some of them are led by professionals, and they just highlight a certain area of data science or just a certain aspect of data that is super important in the industry. So once again, our mission is to promote data literacy in all disciplines. And so at Data Club, we recognize that data is a very interdisciplinary, it's just a very interdisciplinary field. And so we try to kind of highlight the applications of data and data science in fields ranging from business to science and sports and basically anything in between. So here's our e-board. Feel free to reach out to any of us over Slack or contact us through email. Yeah, I mean, I guess I'll kind of do the Slack and email stuff at the end with the contact, but. So first, I wanted to highlight the speaker events. So speaker events are similar to a lot of other clubs, but the thing that makes the speaker events at Data Club kind of stick out is that we kind of try to keep it data centric. We kind of try to bring in all these companies and have them highlight ways that data is applied at that company. And so we try to get a vast variety of companies. We ask all of you guys, I'm probably going to post a poll in Slack soon, just asking what fields that you guys are interested in. But sorry, I'm going to open the chat. There is no attendance link. Yeah, we usually don't take attendance at our meetings, just putting that there. But yeah, so we have a bunch of companies, J&J, Medtronic, so a bunch of sciencey companies, some medical device, all the way to like DraftKings and KKR. So a little bit more on the sports analytics businessy side. So next is Snowball. So once again, Snowball is our project accelerator. And so what that means is that you guys can basically come up with ideas, things that you'd like to explore when it comes to data, and we will kind of help you through it, whether that means supporting you guys with funds, whether like if you wanted to host whatever project you have on an API, we could kind of try to get you funding for that, very dependent on that. But or if you just had an idea and you're kind of just beginning in data science or in data and you just need us for guidance or mentorship, like that's kind of the role that we would take. And so yeah, so if you were to join Snowball now, you would probably take on a semester project. And if you were to join Snowball in the fall, you would probably do a year-long or semester project that's based on whatever you think. But yeah, I think in the future slides, I'll get a little deeper into it. So Snowball is a hands-on project-driven approach to increase data literacy and enable students of all backgrounds to develop and apply practical skills in the world of data. So it kind of it's basically just, outside of class, kind of take an idea that you're passionate about and just come to us and be like, I really want to do a project in this, but I can't do it on my own, whether it's because you need a team, like you'd like other people to work on it with you, whether you just need our guidance or like just like somebody to soundboard off of. Like that's kind of just what Snowball is, and that's kind of what we're here for at Snowball. So this is a really quick overview of like the different tracks that you could take. There's a data science track and there's a data analytics track. And so the data science track is probably for people with a tiny bit more experience, but it's really, both tracks are very beginner friendly. But the data science track, you're kind of diving a little deeper into machine learning, deep learning, potentially neural networks, just and statistics, kind of that kind of side of data. And then data analytics is more of the visualization aspect. So yeah. So data science, the data science side, you're kind of running all the numbers, you're kind of getting a deeper understanding of that, a deeper understanding of the data at more of a quantitative statistical level. And data analytics, you're trying to explore that data, but maybe not as quantitatively, maybe a little bit more qualitatively, or just kind of figuring out and exploring the data with a bunch of visualizations, whether that's through like with some Python libraries, like Plotly and stuff, or Matplotlib, or with Tableau, that's a little bit more interactive, just kind of using that to kind of be able to display data and kind of tell a story. So yeah, those are the two tracks. And they're not exactly mutually exclusive in the sense that if you're on the data science track, there's a good chance that you're going to have to visualize your data before you plug it into a machine learning thing or before you build a neural network. So you don't have to declare what track you are in the beginning, or when you initially begin your project. Yeah, so the timeline of Snowball, or kind of just like how we hope to progress, is the first thing is that is the intro or brainstorm part. So if you decide that you want to participate in Snowball, or if you decide that you want to continue in Snowball, you could introduce yourself in the Slack. If you're new and want to join a team, or you could brainstorm if you want to figure out an idea and make a team of your own. And so, yeah, so in the brainstorm, we will let you know about the actual timeline, like the dates of all of our meetings a little further into this presentation. But the intro brainstorm aspect is kind of just figuring out, oh, do I just want a lot of experience in data science, and do I want to kind of hop onto a more developed idea that somebody else has had in the past, or do I want to make my own idea and kind of pave the path for others to go with me to others that could take my project if I decide to hop off or whatever. So yeah, so some example projects that we will actually be going over later is one group used a machine learning algorithm to predict the severity of a natural disaster. So through their projects, you're going to be able to see that they did actually visualize it at first, and then they realized that they were able to, they actually finished their visualizations pretty early. So they're like, oh, actually, we could actually continue to develop this project and make a machine learning algorithm. And then the next one is strictly a data viz project that's visualizing data from the World Cup. And it's actually really interesting. We'll go into it. But after you kind of get your team, get your topic, you're going to want to conduct research. So whether that's reading up on different types of databases that you're going to use, or what kind of machine learning algorithms that you should use, or anything like that. Yeah. Okay. So I'm going to try to keep the chat open. So Is there a repository of existing brainstorming projects? So we do have, I believe we have a list of a couple of project ideas that we have had,
Yeah.
like that we like had in the past. Yeah, you want to take that?
Yeah, real quick. We do have a repository of existing brainstorming projects from people in the past. Right now, it's not public, so we're trying to get what we're looking to do into the future is once you finished a project, or if you're like if you've even if you haven't completed it and you're looking to hand it off, we really want to start making a GitHub repository where we can host all these projects. We're currently in the works of finding out a great system for how we can do that, how we can give rights to the people who have created the projects, while also, making a public repository for people. So yeah, we do have an existing repository of projects that people have developed. It's not currently public. We're working on doing that.
So back to it. So after you kind of do your research, after you find your data, whatever data set that you want to use, if it's a real world data set, you're probably going to need to clean it and normalize it. But if it's like something from Kaggle, you might not have to clean it. It really depends. But after that, you're just kind of going to try to do, regardless of what track you're on, you're probably going to do some exploratory data analysis. And so that might be with very, very preliminary statistics. That might be with very simple visualizations just to figure out, oh, like what aspects of this data do we find interesting, or what's surprising, and if this is interesting or surprising, how can we explore that further or show that further in a visualization? So, and with that, we can understand and visualize the results. So this would include creating visualizations of the data. So if you were on the machine learning track, you might want to make those a little simpler, maybe a couple bar charts and line graphs, or a heat map, so that you could kind of get right to the machine learning part. But if you're just on the data analysis track, you might want to make a more intricate one. You might want to make like a Tableau dashboard, or like an interactive thing with Python, whatever. Honestly, whatever you could think of, just go for it. This is kind of the part where we let you take it on your own. Yeah. And then your final product will be a poster and a presentation slideshow. This year we are having our Data Expo, which is where you would present your findings virtually. So your final project will probably just be a presentation. Regardless, it is a really good opportunity to be able to practice your presentation skills. It's a really good opportunity to present your findings to both your peers and whatever professionals that we might invite to the Data Expo. So sometimes we invite professors. And yeah, and you're also encouraged to submit your presentations to Northeastern's RISE, which is, I really wish I remember what the acronym stood for, but it's basically it's kind of like a scholarship grant thing. So you could get, like, there is a monetary reward if you win. But when we get there, we'll like post the links and everything. So if you decide that you want to participate in Snowball, the first step is to kind of submit a project proposal to us. So that kind of just shows us, like, what's your idea, like what are your, like, it kind of just shows us, yeah, what's your idea, like how much time do you need, how many members are part of it, and it allows us to give you guys a little feedback too. But the project proposal usually just is pretty simple. It just has a cover page, which is just the topic, the names of your team, and the project timeline. So sometimes some teams like to be very specific and be like, we want to get this done by this week. And some just say the expected end month is December 2021, or we're hoping to get this done by, like, well, I guess like spring semester. So we hope to get this done by April or something like that. Next is just the project description, which is just, what problem are you trying to solve? What data are you trying to explore? And how do you want to do it? Do you want to first explore the data and just do visualizations, stay on that analytics track? Or do you want to try to use machine learning? And if you are trying to use machine learning, like, do you have any algorithms in mind that you'd like to use? And yeah, and then if you need a budget, you can ask us. Yeah, we would ask you to say exactly what that money would be allotted towards, and then we would be able to evaluate that on a case-by-case basis. So yeah, so there's usually a snowball meeting every week. So it can be like a technical workshop or office hours. So both kind of optional in a sense. Like only come to office hours if you need help. So like if you kind of need help making that timeline, if you kind of don't know, if you kind of like got to this point where it's like, oh, like I got all the data and I visualized it, but where do I go from here? That kind of stuff. Like just like higher level views, like just because if you need somebody like to look at your project from the outside, it's always nice to come to our office hours. And yeah. So here are some sample projects. So this is the World Cup project. So these are the people who tried to predict, I believe it's like which area of the goal, if you shoot it, like is most likely to score or something like that. But these are the visualizations that they made. And so yeah. So these are the visualizations, and then these are their results. So zone 7 was the most frequent target. And so like they did a couple numbers, and so like that. So like this is kind of a more simple project, but I still think that it's really, really interesting, and it was like really enjoyable to watch them like present, just because it's not something that you would really do in a class. And if you were to do it in a class, I feel like Snowball offers something like since it is outside of class, there's less pressure, and you could kind of go with it however, like you can kind of take it wherever you want instead of being kind of like tied down by whatever requirements that a class project would have. So next is the storms in the United States. And so these are just a couple of slides that he presented at the Data Expo, at the last Data Expo. So yeah, so he kind of like walked us through how he did it, and then these are some of the visualizations that he made. Yeah. So like that's kind of just like a sample of the slides that you would submit for the Data Expo. So you could kind of make it as like complex as you would like, depending on how much time you have, depending on your team's skill level, and depending on how comfortable you are kind of doing a lot of self-learning or just asking us a bunch of questions. So some important upcoming dates is that if you are interested in taking part in our Snowball program, next Wednesday is our group and brainstorm session. And so in this session, again, it's just brainstorming topics, coming up with kind of like forming groups. And then when you have those topics and those groups made, you kind of get started on that project proposal, and that deadline is that next Wednesday after that. So I feel like you guys kind of like ask questions as we go in the chat, which is great. So, oh, wait, just kidding. Somebody raised their hand. Natalie, you could.
Hi. You mentioned that you have technical workshops. I was curious who's going to lead those, if you know.
Yeah, so we're actually going to go into that further in like later, but our technical workshops are going to be ran. They have been ran by students in the past, but this semester we're working on getting professors to run them. So yeah, I guess like if that answers your question.
Yeah, to be a little more specific, we also, so we have like our YouTube channel, which is like a repository full of all of our videos right now, which I'm actually going to drop it into chat, our channel link. So you can see all the recordings that we've ever done, all the workshops we've ever done, the very surface level for a lot of visualizations and stuff. Now that we have that repository, we're looking to specialize, like Emily said, we're looking to get more professors in to talk more in depth than we could personally. On some of these topics.
Yeah, so there's another question in the chat of how can we become a member of this club? And I think that there's no official membership application. In order to become a member of the club, you just be able to get notified of all of our events, So at the end of this presentation, I'll pop the link to sign up for our email list in the chat, unless somebody else from eBoard would like to do it. You could also join our Slack. Yeah, we will have the QR code later on in that. And so we will send reminders both over emails and over Slack, also over Instagram, if you guys want to follow us there too. But
I'll drop the email list into chat real quick. I gotta find it.
So I like, yeah, okay, cool. But yeah. So that covers our Snowball. So if there's any questions about Snowball, feel free to Slack any of the eBoard or just put it into the chat. So should we find our group members or will we be assigned a group? That's a good question. So in our next meeting, our group and brainstorm session, that's going to be where you will be finding your group. So it's not like you're finding your own members or like you're finding your own group, but you're going to be able to talk to a bunch of members in the club that have similar interest based on like if you kind of like want to do a sciencey project or like a businessy project. And so with that, you'll be able to find people, but it's not like you'll have to like private like direct message like a bunch of people on Slack and be like, hey, do you want to be in a group? Because that's what next meeting will be for. How experienced do you consider the data science track people to be? That's really dependent on the project. So some people would like who aren't as experienced, or some people who like are just like trying to get their toes wet in like the whole machine learning thing, they'll find it really great to kind of just like start with the visualizations, and then right when you're done with like those visualizations, you'll be like, oh wait, like I really like this topic, I want to explore it further. And then we'll be like, oh, like that's perfect. Either like we'll help you learn machine learning, or you could look at our YouTube for some of our machine learning technical workshops. And then like you could just like start doing that like preliminary stuff. So honestly, the data science track, it's as complex as you want to make it. So there's no really required experience level that somebody from the data science track or somebody who wants to pursue the data science track needs to be. I hope that answered your question because that was kind of vague. Yes, all meetings are virtual this semester. And yeah, and then Max just put the sign up for the email list in the Slack. Cool. Okay, but yeah, feel free to keep on putting the questions in the chat and we'll answer them periodically. So, perfect timing. Next is technical workshops. So most of our technical workshops are single day, but we have had multi-part workshops in the past. And so each workshop is geared like for like kind of like a beginner level, just for people who just need a little, yeah, they're kind of just like beginner level. So they're everything from Python, which is just like introducing the important libraries that you need to know, to machine learning techniques. So stuff like sklearn, but also we have been working on like TensorFlow and presentations like that, to Tableau, which I've actually ran in the past. And so I kind of like ran like a beginner's workshop and then like a more advanced workshop, so that, but like both of them were pretty catered. Hopefully they're both like people were able to follow along for both of them. But this semester, as you mentioned, we're trying to get a little bit more specialized because we feel like we've covered a lot of the kind of like baseline like data manipulation, kind of like data techniques that are essential or very foundational for somebody working with data. But once again, I'll probably be posting another form in the Slack asking if you guys have any, if you guys want any type of workshops, if you guys have any ideas. And so next is our involvement. So typically our speaker events are on Tuesdays from 6 to 7. And our Snowball events are on Wednesday from 6 to 7. We always send an email the week before telling you about the events for like that next week. So if you are interested in going to a bunch of our events, be sure to sign up for that email list. We also do post on Instagram about all of our events, and for those of you in the Slack, I feel like you guys probably know that we do send reminders like 15 minutes before, half an hour before, around there, just as a quick reminder to just join the Zoom, because all of our meetings are virtual this semester. Yeah. So there's our Slack. Max put that link in the chat, but if you didn't follow the link and you want to scan that QR code, you could go for it. Slack is a really nice place if you want to just introduce yourself. Some people have like asked if like anybody is like taking classes, if they need like partners or study groups or stuff or anything like that. So that's really nice. And also like if you're in Snowball, it's a really good place to like introduce yourself and be like, hey, like I'm Emily and I'm really interested in like starting like a science project that has to do with like bioinformatics. And then if somebody else is also interested in that, they could private message you or reply to that and be like, oh, me too, let's make a team. So that's pretty nice. And then, yeah, these are all their socials. So, oh yeah, and there's our email list QR code. So yeah, so feel free, if you have any questions, to email us at our data club Gmail. We also post on our Instagram. I'm not gonna lie, not as much on Facebook, but you could still follow us there. And yeah, I think that's it. Yeah, that's it. So if you guys have any more questions, you could pop them into the chat. But I think that's it for the presentation.
I wanted to add one more thing. As for speaker events, we do have one scheduled as of right now. One with Patrick McQuillan. Yeah, sure. And I'll drop all those links one more time into in Slack. But we have a speaker event coming up with a Patrick McQuillan. And he is going to be presenting. This is going to be really interesting. It's not going to be a career-based event. It's specifically going to be about his experience in the industry of data science. And what he wrote up to me, I want to do this verbatim. He phrased it very well. The themes, it's going to be 2 lectures. The first lecture is scheduled February 16th. However, we will send out an email, finalize that date and time, send you guys a link once we're certain about that. And there's going to be 2 lectures on the 16th and then on March 1st, 2 weeks from then. And the themes of these lectures will be, the first one is using imperfect information to arrive at meaningful insights. So a lot of times in the field of data science, you are given an imperfect data set, something that you have to clean, something that may not be reliable. And you want to be careful about the way that you're deriving insights. You're not making assumptions, that you're deriving meaningful information factually. And he's going to be going over how that's done and how that's done in a responsible way. And the second is uncovering humanity in data. So that's going to be more making sure that we're focusing on the behavioral aspects of data science, really focusing on, what the, now that we've come to a conclusion about this maybe incomplete data set, what does it mean in terms of the people that it's speaking about? So it's really going to be bringing a lot of, these are questions a lot of times we go over analytics, tools in data science, and we want to understand, how you come to conclusions. And we do all this in a vacuum, and we assume that data is always going to be perfect. It rarely is. For those of you who have worked in data science, it's never perfect. It's really hard to come to conclusions at times. These lectures, I'm really excited about these. They're super realistic, and they're going to really give a great insight into what it's like working in data science, as well as, adding a very human aspect to data science, making sure that we're truly understanding what we're talking about and the insights that we come to about people. So keep that in your calendar, or we'll send you a calendar invite as well. February 16th and March 1st, those are going to be on Tuesdays, which are speaker events at 6 p.m. For each. But we'll finalize that. We'll send that out in the email. If you haven't joined the email list yet, make sure you check it out in our in the chat right here. But yeah, Emily, thank you very much for presenting. We got any more questions? Feel free to either raise your hand, you can type it in chat, or you can just speak out. All right. I think Emily and I and the other e-board that's in this chat, we'll hang out here for the next 5 minutes, and we'll make sure we drop this recording to everybody. But yeah, if you gotta go, you gotta go. It was a pleasure seeing you all. We're really excited to get started with this semester. Hopefully, we see you at a couple events. Take it easy, everybody.